see slavery. So it would appear that the human being's inclination to dehumanize fellow human beings who are not like them and to use them as vessels and chattels is something that is settled in history, and it has changed character over the years. The tragedy, however, is that slavery is alive and well in different forms. I remember when I read different histories in the manner that I've articulated, you see that women and children were part of the war spoils. And that in itself tells you that slavery is part of human life, undesirable as it is. You know, when we talk about contemporary slavery, particularly in the continent of Africa, we've got to look at it from a number of dimensions. We do not talk as often as we should about the slavery that took place in the eastern coast of Africa from the year 650 AD. The enslavement of African peoples by the Arab Emirates, if you may, the Omani Empire and all those empires. This started in 650 AD, as I've already said. And estimates now suggest that as many as 18 million Africans were taken from the eastern coast of Africa, from what is today Kenya, Tanzania, up to the hinterland in places such as Malawi, and were taken to the Arab world. One of the things that happened in the Arab world, why you don't see the evidence of black slaves, is that they were castrating men, and therefore they did not produce. And it is something that we don't talk about as loudly as we should, is not as documented in the manner that it should, but that is the first wave of slavery, in modern day slavery. The much more known wave of slavery starts in the 15th century. And this is by the European enslavers led by the Portuguese in the early 1400s, which is the 15th century. And all the European powers were involved in slavery. They themselves, of course, had been subjected to slavery by their fellow Europeans. But when they started coming, you'll remember that when the Portuguese started coming into Africa, they wanted to trade in gold and spices. But then they discovered that there was another commodity, the human being. The most dangerous things that you see in the slavery in the Arab world was castration of men. This was unprecedented because in the transatlantic, they wanted the people to breed so that they would have more slaves. But in the Arab world, they simply castrated them. They were eunuchs who worked in the harems of the sultans of the day. That was as cruel as cruelty can be, because they intended to decimate. But on the other hand, they bred them as you breed cows. They bred them as you breed rabbits, only that then they served as labor in their farms and in their households. Initially, when the interaction between Europe and America started, it was on trade. There was no slavery. When the Portuguese first made their foray into Western Africa in what is now Ghana or what is now Senegal or in the Gambia, they were trading. And this was a relationship that was of equals. But when they discovered that there is a commodity more valuable, this commodity can work, this commodity can deliver, this commodity can reproduce, then they discovered something that they had never known about, and that is how the commercial dimension of slavery took a trajectory that was unprecedented in the world in what is now the conceptual West.